Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. A very long overdue video. We're going to be delving into the Rozz noise projects, the compilation tracks, the extra tracks, the tracks that are hard to find, and the easiest, simplest, most affordable way to obtain those. I know this video is about, I think at least 2.5, 3 years overdue. A lot's changed. Obviously the settings changed. Shortly after I filmed the Shadow Project videos, there was a move, there was family issues, whatnot. So we're finally getting back to this. This is the hardest one for me anyway. Noise projects for Rozz aren't my... they're not in my wheelhouse. I don't have a discernible ear to say, you know, this track is exactly like that track, and therefore it's just been retitled. I have a group of friends, Rozz fans, that are much better equipped at that. So my thanks going out to John Collins and Scotty for their help with this. I probably will still make a couple of mistakes, and you know, feel free to correct me in the comments to help out other fans and collectors. So with that said, let's get into it. I do have glasses now, or at least reading glasses, so no more magnifying glass, so that will help. So I'm gonna go ahead and put those on. And I think we should probably start with Premature Ejaculation. That's probably the one that's most well known to fans as far as Rozz's noise projects go. You know, if you've done any research whatsoever in trying to obtain these recordings, you know that it's a very pricey endeavor. And it's also very difficult to find these items. And then you also have the added task of legitimizing if they're real, because there's so few quantities out there. And it's not hard to make a copy, you know, a bootleg of these recordings and make it look somewhat legit, because they were made on a very thin budget to begin with. Xerox copies, whatnot. You know, these were not high quality printed efforts, and so it's almost no effort. Somebody can replicate something that looks legit and sell it for a lot of money, and you really have no way of knowing, because the original cassettes are so few and far between. There's nothing to compare it to in a lot of cases. So if you're a Rozz Williams fan and are beginning to explore his noise material, the easiest and probably most affordable way to get into the material is a series that was released by Malaise Music about 10 years ago. What they did was they took original material and remastered it, I believe by Benjamin Siebert. He remastered the material, and they released the material in chronological order from the original release date. And a lot of that material was sourced from 8 tapes that I received, and then 8 tapes that John Collins had received, along with just the original material that had already existed. There are some people who claim that these are not original recordings. They're not the original tapes. I don't know if that's true or not. I can tell you that the source of those tapes was somebody that recorded with Rozz, was very close to Rozz, was very involved with Rozz's career. So whether or not these tapes are the originals, I would assume if they're not originals, they are made from, they're the first generation copies. But my instinct tells me that these were original tapes, regardless of what anyone else tells you. They didn't have the tapes in their possession, so they can only, at best, speculate. I know what I received, and if it's anything like what John received, they look very genuine and legitimate to me. So, with that, we had original material that we knew existed. We had versions of material that had existed that was different. We had unknown material. And then we had, with that, also material that there was speculation of it existing or references to it, but there was no source material until those tapes were received. So that was the background for the Malaise music series. And again, they're not that expensive. They're on Discogs quite often. They usually run around $20. Unfortunately, the series, it just ran out of money, and there wasn't enough interest in that material to keep financing going forward. It was done at cost, so all the materials, the studio time, all of that was built into the cost. There was no extra money for the team that put it together. So it ran out of steam, unfortunately. And they got deep into the era with Chuck Collazon and Rozz recording, but not much past. They didn't make it past that point, unfortunately. So back to Premature Ejaculation. So here is some of the stuff that I recommend. First of all, the Malaise music series. Just pick those up and it will fill a huge gap. It'll also give you a very wide breadth of the sound of Premature Ejaculation. And again, those CDs should run you about $20 a piece. They are limited. There's not a zillion of them floating around. So get them while they're still cheap, because they will become scarce. And I would assume that they will become scarce sooner than later. And with so many young fans discovering Rozz, they will get swallowed up. They will get swallowed up just like the material from Cleopatra. And that's why they have to constantly keep repressing the same thing over and over, because newer and newer fans are finding Rozz, and that material just gets scarce because there's only so many pressings. There are 2 vinyl releases for Premature Ejaculation, just Premature Ejaculation band releases. They're behind me. The one in that one, that is Blood, Tod Und Sieg. That was released by Gymnastics Records. I believe mine is I don't know if it's a fake or a bootleg. It didn't have the postcards. It's not hand numbered. I think there were 1,500 that were. So I'm not sure what mine is. I think it's fake. And then the other one is more common. That is the vinyl release of Assertive Discipline on Bader Meinhof. I would assume that's a German label. The Blood, Tod Und Sieg vinyl, that can run you a little over $100, generally $150, $200. If it has a postcards, more. If it's numbered, definitely more. The Assertive Discipline vinyl, I see it often. They're even though there's less than 1,000 of those made, I see them on eBay and Discogs quite often, and they usually run around $60, $70. That's not a bad introduction, and I quite enjoy it, actually. It has 8 tracks listed, and I think there's only 6 on the vinyl. So it's kind of a misprint, but I quite enjoy it. Again, I'm not a noise aficionado, so the harsher the noise, the less inclined I am to put it on. The more ambient it is, I'm more likely to keep it in reach so that I can play it. So There's a few tracks that I've identified that I think are exclusive to compilations, and that you can't acquire through other means. Like they weren't on a re-release of an album as bonus tracks, or there's just no alternative to get them. So the first thing I want to talk about is Live in Canada, 3/31/91. This, I believe, is, in my honest opinion, mislabeled. I believe that this was actually recorded on 3/26/95 in Canada at a club called Necropolis. I'm unable to find a performance of Premature Ejaculation in 91 in Canada, and I believe it's the Necropolis show. This was only released on a cassette that was released by Rozznet in 97, and that was a Heltir release, Il Banchetto di Concrete, with VC 706 on the back. And also on the back of that was this Premature Ejaculation called Live in Canada, 3/31/91. Again, I believe that this is the 3/26/95 show at Necropolis. So I have never seen this cassette. I'm kind of, this was at a point when Rozznet had partnered with Eric Christie's and Rozz Williams and Jatane Damone, and they had created Malaise Media, and they were releasing material through that label and through Rozznet in very limited quantities. This is actually a brochure from that time. So they were a lot of planned releases of material, and unfortunately Eric Christie's died shortly thereafter, and then not too long after that Rozz, of course, passed away. So whether or not any material actually was shipped, that seems to be open to speculation. A lot of Rozz fans say no, that the material, like people that have been involved in the scene since then, say that the material never got sent. However, others have said that they've seen them and that they are out there. So I don't know. I can tell you, because I was working on Rozznet at the time, I do have some of the CDRs that were released through Rozznet, but I've never seen the cassette. So again, I don't know. The next track I want to talk about is Valley of Humiliation 3. This is on a cassette that, if you can find, you should buy. We talked about this cassette before in video 2. It's this. It's Happiest Music on Earth, Music of Earth Volume 1. And on this tape is a number of recordings that any Rozz collector would want to have. Cointel-Pro is on here, which is Eric Freeman's project. Whether or not Rozz was involved with Cointel-Pro, like recorded with them, I can't say that. No one seems to know the answer to that. But the track on here from Cointel-Pro is No Fear Live. And then there are also on this cassette a number of recordings that are questionable. Scotty and I talked about this. We feel like they're probably not Rozz tracks, but are Chuck Collazon, who ran the label. But they have names that suggest that, band names, artist names that suggest that Rozz might be involved. And those tracks are Voluntary Aberrations, which was done by a band called Not Two, and then a song called Body of Crow, also by the same artist. And obviously Body of a Crow, or not obviously to you, but maybe to some, Body of a Crow is the name of a release in which Rozz is involved. And then there's a track called Happy Music Soundtrack, which is Happy Person of Earth. Underpassed, which is done by Everlasting Ejaculation, which we believe the Underpassed is from the live show, the Underpass live performance by Premature Ejaculation, which is rare. It's a few tape traders have it. But in this instance, it's spelled under P-A-S-T. And again, it's released by Everlasting Ejaculation. And then there's a track that's just called Various, which is also by Happy Person of Earth. And again, like Scotty believes that these were just Chuck Collison pieces to fill the tape. But there are definite similarities to Rozz material at this time, and I would say very similar structure to Rozz tracks, and the titling is suggestive that Rozz is involved. We also talked about this tape in the last video so many years ago because it contains the only way that you can get the track The Blue Heart, unless you, again, it's a spoken word track by Rozz. It's only available on this tape. I don't know why no one else has released it, but it's only on this tape. It's an amazing song. It deserves to be surfaced on a proper recording. But yeah, and it's only on this tape. And let me see if what else is on here. There is also the track Control This / Metrazol. But this was later released on actually Danny's from Italy, his release of Death Cultures, the first Death Cultures, I believe. Yes, which is this. Danny's label is Looney-Tick Productions. You can find them on Bandcamp. And Danny did a spectacular job of reproducing this. And it's really well done. And he added a couple of extra tracks on here. Pigface Show and Tell, Blue Honey, Strong Arm Tactics, and The Pain is Severe. Those were all added to this, and this is a great release. If you can find this, it's still cheap. It may be out of print. I don't know if it's still available through Bandcamp, but you can find them on Discogs fairly affordably. Danny also released Death Cultures 3, which is this. And again, this is on Looney-Tick Productions. And again, superbly done and highly recommended. With those two, along with the Malaise music releases, you can have a huge portion of the material, Premature Ejaculation material, in your collection and not spend a fortune. It's only if you want to obtain the originals where you're going to run into some incredible costs. So let's move on. Let's see. So that was Valley of Humiliation 3. I don't believe that is on anything else other than this tape, unfortunately. And I wasn't able to locate it on another release. So it has not been re-released, unfortunately. The next track is Araña, which was released in 1990, again on Happiest Tapes of Earth. It's on this tape, which is a little easier to find. Still going to cost you an arm and a leg. But as best I can tell, it's only on this cassette. And it's an interesting track. I enjoy it. And sadly, it's not surfaced on anything else at this time. The next song is Superficial Pulse, 1991. And it is on this beautiful LP in the silk screened jacket. I got mine used, so it's signed to somebody from somebody I don't know. And then printed tracks, and then the vinyl. This was released by Baader Meinhof, the same people that did the Assertive Discipline vinyl. And again, this is an item that's not that expensive. It's easy to find, and I recommend it. It's got some interesting material. Some of the other artists on here are Genocide Organ, Asmus Titanch, Crash Worship, Placid, Arcane Device, Cranioclast. So if you're into industrial material, noise, experimental music, I recommend this. The Premature Ejaculation track is you know, as good as any. I enjoy it. So yes, this like is not rare. I see them on Discogs quite often. I don't see them on eBay, but I do see them on Discogs, and they usually run anywhere from 30 to 50, maybe a little bit more, depending on the quality. Mine was a little bit cheaper because it's signed, and obviously it wasn't signed to me, so mine was a little bit cheaper, but I was happy to have it. I was at a point in my life where I was just grabbing all of it because I was afraid I wasn't going to see it again. Partly that was true, but for a lot of these items that I spent money on, that wasn't the case, especially that. I would say that Assertive Discipline vinyl, I bought 2 of them in a relatively short amount of time because I thought I was never going to see them again, but they still turn up quite regularly. The next track I want to talk about is Dead Horse Riddle. And this one really threw me because I was convinced that this must be on another album somewhere, but I could not, for the life of me. I looked through everything I own. I looked online. I couldn't find this track anywhere else. And it's on a CD compilation that was done by Cleopatra Records, of all people, and SEMA Special Markets. It was a 2 CD set called Industrial Revolution. And I'm going to take it out of the sleeves here. This is the booklet. So yeah, see, Cleopatra Records and SEMA Special Markets. I believe this was released in the US and overseas in Europe. This was the tray liner on the back cover. Other artists on here are Unsters and Newbottom, Pigface, Skinny Puppy, Spawn Ranch, Throbbing Grizzle, Revolting Cox, Brian Eno, Nick Turner, Ministry, Kraftwerk. So a lot of well-established artists. So for a lot of people, this is probably their introduction to Premature Ejaculation, because they would have picked this up for, say, Ministry or Frontline Assembly or something, and would have been exposed to Premature Ejaculation. And maybe if they liked it, would have explored it and realized it was Rozz Williams and opened a whole new can of worms. So the track on there again is Dead Horse Riddle. And then after that is a track called Dead in Hamilton, Cambodia. This is an interesting track. It's live, and the notes on the release are that it was adapted in the studio from a live performance at Necropolis. Again, I believe this is the 331.95. It says 331.95, but I believe it was recorded on 326.95. Maybe it was adapted in the studio in 331.95. But I believe this is the aforementioned live in Canada recording. Premature Ejaculation was touring Canada at this point in 95 in March. So this song, Dead in Hamilton, Cambodia, is only available on Necropolis. or I'm sorry, it's on a compilation called Necrology, and unfortunately I don't own it. But I will put a link to it in the description. So let me just make a quick note right here, so that you can order it. I believe it's out of print, but there's a ton of them on Discogs. And our next track is going to be on a compilation that I recommend everybody picks up. It's Merry Maladies. There is a European version of this called, I think it's Gothic Maladies, which is 3 CDs. This one is only 2. This came about with using the material that was going to be released on Malaise Music. I'm sorry, Malaise Media. That material wound up being used for this CD. So a lot of the material that was going to be exclusively released through Malaise Media wound up on Merry Maladies. And this has Premature Ejaculation, Jeton Demone, Blood Flag is on here, which we'll talk about in a little bit. David E. Williams, Amaween, Premature Ejaculation, if I didn't already say that already. Heltir's on here. There's a track by 1334, which we're going to talk about. Let's see, who else is on here? Oh, a Kubi Object. This is an excellent introduction to the family bands and a lot of the artists, the noise projects. Pick this up. This is excellent. This is well done, especially for a Cleopatra release. The only problem on this, as I recall, is there's a demo, a Christian Death demo. Let me see. Yeah, it's the Death Wish demo that is listed but wasn't included, so it's omitted. That's pretty typical for a Cleopatra release. But regardless, it's still worth picking up. This is a great introduction for anybody. Get this. If you see this, get this. I highly recommend it. It's perfect. And then if you see the Gothic Maladies, pick that up. But you can get this. I've seen it as cheap as $10. And the Gothic Maladies, I'm not sure. I've never seen it. I think it's only in Europe, but it's probably similar priced. I don't think there's anything on the Gothic Maladies, that third disc, that's family related. When I looked at it, I didn't see anything that's like a family band project. So, you know, you would be well enough with just having this, which I do, again, highly recommend. The tracks that are on this, for Premature Ejaculation, there's a track called In S.F, which I assume is San Francisco. It's an awesome song, and again, it is only on this. There's another track on here from Premature Ejaculation called Dispossessed. Again, the tracks on here, Dispossessed and Dead in San Francisco. Dead in San Francisco, or SF, is only on this. Okay, so we have 2 more to talk about that are on a unique release, and I don't really know how, where they were sourced from. Maybe Rozznet. I'm not sure. But there's 2 tracks on this DVD. This is the one that was released by Cleopatra and MVD distributors. And there's 2 Premature Ejaculation tracks on here. One of which is The Cause of Death, and the other is Plasma Injection. And to the best of my knowledge, they are not available anywhere else except on here. I've heard of rumors that they were tracks not included on the final Premature Ejaculation album, The Wound of Exit. Whether or not that's true, I'm not really sure. I'm not sure where they came from, but they are only on this DVD. And this DVD is super cheap. Again, probably a $10 investment. It's not rare at all. So pick it up if you're interested. I mean, obviously, it's great to have the live performance from Patriot Hall. from Christian Death, their final performance. It's great to have that on DVD, but as an added bonus, you get those 2 Premature Ejaculation tracks. Everything else that I was able to find as a bonus track or a compilation track for Premature Ejaculation was released in another way. So we talked about Control This and Metrazol. Pigface Show and Tell is on American Gothic. This, let's see. This is American Gothic. This is the CD. The vinyl, I forgot to pull that out. The interesting thing about the vinyl, not the vinyl that looks like this, but the vinyl with the white cover of American Gothic. Casey Strange found that it has a lock groove, so that the last track, which I think is Blue Honey, never stops. It hits that lock groove and just keeps going. So that's an interesting effect. Control This, Metrazol, originally was only on this, was later released on Danny's release. Where did those go? Here they are. Is it this one? No, it's on this one. It's on here. You see it right there. So that track, you don't need to buy this $2,000 tape to find it. Just pick this up on CD. And then we have, let's see, Pigface Show and Tell, which is also, I believe, included. Yeah, Danny also included it on here. So that makes it easy. Just pick this up. You don't need to find American Gothic. Blue Honey, also on here. So that's also on American Gothic. Again, you know, the LP, I just picked one up for 20 bucks. So it's not that expensive. It's about what you're gonna pay for this, but with this, you get a whole album plus these extra tracks. And then, let's see, Agents of Death, which was originally released on Sacred War. Let me find that really quick. Sacred War, I think this was only released as a CD. This includes tracks by Death in June, Super Heroines, Mephisto Waltz, Anton LaVey, Non, Death in June, Sol Invictus. So it's an interesting compilation. It's a good one. It's really cheap. This is like a $10 CD or cheaper. But the track on that, which is Agents of Death, was also released on the bootleg Blood, Told, and Spine by Mystic Fragments. So those are incredibly impossible to find, so this might be a better option. Let's pick this up, again, around 10 bucks. And then we have Tincture of Nature, and that is on an interesting release that I have. Let me find that. I didn't pull out the whole thing. I just pulled out the CD. Unfortunately, this is the only other way that you can get this, and it's on What Sound Volume 2. And this CD was in a metal bag, like metal mesh bag with a nail through it. And when I got it, like the packaging had been shredded, and then I wound up like cutting myself on this metal wiring. It's like the thickness of picture frame wire, and like I bled everywhere. Like I thought, like this is just perfect. Like this is exactly what Rozz would have wanted to happen to me. So I'm happy to say that there's also a jewel case version for this now. And I actually ordered one, so I will have 2 copies of this. So I will pick somebody in the comments below to send that to once it arrives. All you have to do is comment below, and I will happily, and then I'll reach out to you, get your personal information, and then I'll send that off to you. It's a great track. It's called Tincture of Nature. And again, it's on this, which isn't hard to find. You know, probably around $20. The CD jewel case version is around, I think I paid $10 for it. Or you can buy the Death Trap that I bought, like $20 to $30. Or you can try to find the Mystic Fragments version, which will probably start around $50, just because there's so few copies made. And then the last track was Dispossessed, which we already talked about. So with all that said, there's a few other tracks that probably need to be mentioned. Transillumination. This was incorporated by a DJ, and it's only available as an MP3. But this is a track. Transillumination is on the album Anesthesia, which is released by Dark Vinyl Records in '92 and re-released in '98 or '99, I believe. There's a track called Red, which was on a compilation called Must Be Music number 2. This was on the Dead Horse Riddles from Malaise music series, which is this. Again, that's that affordable series I talked about that you should pick up. You know, each CD around 10, 15 bucks. So that's the easiest way to go. The track Death Works As You Drift. That was on the reissue of Assertive Discipline on Dark Vinyl and Hollow's Hill Sound Recordings. I don't know what happened to my CD. It's disappeared, the reissue. But it looks different. It's like a collage piece on the cover. And it's like dark reds and blacks. We talked about Pigface Show and Tell, Blue Honey. So that's everything for Premature Ejaculation. So that wasn't too awful. Great? Okay. So let's move on to 1334. This is a project that was Rozz Williams and Eric Christie's. Came later in Rozz's career. And I believe there's more recordings out there. Unfortunately, we only have 2. The first one that I was aware of was Resistance, which was on a cassette released by Anomalous Records. Called Pathological Resonance. This shows up from time to time. I think I paid $30 for mine. But the originals now probably will run you about 60 or 70. And the track is only on this tape. There's 108 copies. It was released in 1995. The thing about my version, it has all the contents, which there's like liner notes and then like all these interesting cards. There's a ton of them for each artist. My cassette, unfortunately, didn't come with the bandage. There's a bandage. Here's a quick look at the artists. There was an ace bandage wrapped around the tape, but mine didn't have, but I got it anyway. I've never obtained another one with an ace bandage. I was just happy to have the recording. It's an incredible track. I used to have it on my radio show on Live 365. I really loved the 1334 material. So again, on this tape, I recommend getting it. It's an interesting cassette, is the track Resistance. And then the other track is on, again, Merry Maladies. And the track that's on here is Behind the Wall of Sleep. The reason why I say I think there's more material is because there was a planned release through Malaise Media of the 1334 album. And I have a feeling it wouldn't have been just these 2 tracks. Maybe it would have. They're both long-ish. So maybe that could have comprised an album. But I feel like there might be more material out there. Maybe it disappeared when Eric died. Or maybe it disappeared when Rozz died. But sadly, we may never know. So, hard to say. Maybe more tapes will show up out of the blue and reveal more material to be released at a later date. I can only hope. So that's it for 1334.
Whether one can be had or that event will turn out for the best. We as believers, or we as Christians, we rejoice in the knowledge that Jesus knows all about our struggle, and that when the time is right, He will be.
The next project we should talk about is Heltir. This was a project that Rozz really enjoyed. Ace Farron Ford was involved. Christian Omar Madrigal Ezo was involved. I think maybe one other person was involved with Heltir, but this was it had a very distinctive sound. 1334's distinctive sound was very ambient, as opposed where Premature Ejaculation was a lot of collage noise, tape loops and whatnot. I found 1334 to be like darker and like somber and moody and a little bit more ambient. Heltir took inspiration from like World War II and the German Nazi era and incorporated that into like soundscapes that incorporated a lot of different percussion and instrumentation. It's quite diverse and unique. It evolved over time. The only like commercial release was done on XXX. I think it was on XXX. It might have been Hollows Hills. And I'm not even gonna try to say the title of that album. But it's still like when you search for Heltir on eBay, it's the one album that'll come up. There was only one release. There is a song called XO from Heltir that is on this cassette, and I don't believe it's been released on anything else, unfortunately. Yeah, to the best of my knowledge, it has not been released on anything else. It was released in 1990 on this cassette. And then the other track that I have for Heltir that is unreleased is Tod Und Sieg, which is again on this. So again, pick this up. This will fill a lot of gaps in like compilation tracks for you. Everything else from Heltir, there is famously, there was a 2-cassette set released by Rozznet, which was Il Pancetto di Concrete, backed with VC 706. Those were released through Rozznet. Do I have them out? Let me see. I believe there was also a CD version. Let me see if I have them out. Yeah. Whether or not these were official, I'm not sure. That's that. And then this one. Again, I only obtained these because I was working on Rozznet at the time, and I was working on the multimedia section. So I was provided with material to put in that on that page. So these, I've never seen these turn up ever anywhere. So they're incredibly rare, and there's just no easy way to obtain that material, unfortunately. This was, I believe this was released on the Malaise music series. I know this one was. This is 6. Again, the Malaise music series is the best way to fill those gaps, and really pad out your collection if Premature Ejaculation is something that you find an affinity for. Artists that utilized Rozz's talents on their recordings. So we're going to bounce back to this again. On here is a band called Blood Flag. This was Eric Christity's project. And there is a Heltir mix of their song Daughters of Darkness. There's also another version of Daughters of Darkness on a CD compilation from Cleopatra called Vampire Themes. I believe Rozz is involved with both. Okay, so there's another band, family-related band, that is called EXP. This was their album. And this was a project, I don't know if it was started by Paris, but Paris from Shadow Project was involved, as well as a number of other family artists. And Rozz plays bass on this album. On Back to Merry Maladies, there's a track on here by Ava O with a band called The Wounded. And it says that Rozz plays bass on that. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but you know, again, you're getting this anyway, so might as well cover all your bases. And then we also talked about earlier the Cointel-Pro, which is on that tape that is unattainable, this one, where Rozz may or may not participate on a song called No Fear with that group. Okay, and one final thing that we should probably discuss is this, the soundtrack for Pig. And my understanding of this is that Rozz started the material, the music for this, and Chuck Colazon finished it. I don't know what that means. I don't know if Chuck just came in and cleaned it up, or compiled it, or mixed it, or what exactly he did, but it does say that, you know, it's music by Rozz Williams. So Chuck Colazon was kind enough to come in and clean it up or finish it for the film. There were, you know, 1,334 copies of this. It is kind of hard to find. It's rare. It does tend to get overpriced. I think this should probably run you around, you know, $40, I would imagine, on the high end. So I think that's everything. Those are all the tracks that I was able to come up with for Rozz's Noise projects. And I'm sorry it took so long to get this done. It's a very convoluted history, and then trying to track down what's been retitled and reissued and what's original and what's unique. I couldn't do it on my own. I needed help, and then, you know, life intervened, and then I kept procrastinating because this was going to be so difficult. So I apologize for that. But now that this is done, we can move on to other things. I have some thoughts about what I'm going to do with the channel going forward, but nothing's set in stone yet. My life is kind of in a flux right now. Things are very unsettled, and I don't, when that's happening, I don't feel very inspired to create. It seems like I only want to create when I don't have time to create. So I'm not going to make any assurances or promises on what's coming, but things will come. And until then, thank you for visiting once again. I apologize for the delay. I hope everyone is well and taking care of themselves and people they love. Until the next one, y'all take care.